Welcome into Mile High Territory. Ryan Spilborghs, Troy Renck. He just had a great weekend in California. His son got married. We'll get into that in a second. But today's show, Rockies stink at Coors Field. They have lost 9 straight there. We'll give you some injury updates, possibly on Kyle Freeland and also on Kyle Karros. And then this weekend with Larry Walker's statue unveiling, which was awesome. Troy, how was the weekend? Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Our youngest son, Brady, got married to Jillian here in Southern California, in between Santa Barbara and Malibu, where they both went to Westmont College. I don't know if people are familiar with the story. The reason my son Brady played for Westmont was because Spilly introduced our family to Westmont. He trained there, and they recruited our oldest son, Dagan. He just wasn't really interested at that point going out of state. And Brady came to a prospect camp here and ended up signing at Westmont. Anyway, I always tell people, like, how did you hear about Westmont? I'm like, Ryan Spilborghs hit me. I was looking for colleges for our oldest son. He's like, you should look at this college. And everyone there felt like was from Westmont last night, Philly. It was such a cool gathering in this. And yeah, they're supposed to be stressful and all this. It wasn't. It could not have gone better. And her family's amazing, and see all of his former teammates, and it was really cool. It was really cool. So thank you for bringing it up. Now we take a deep breath and return to real life. But yeah, the last few days have been absolutely joyful.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you need that cup filled of joy in your life because you don't realize you're like, oh wow, like that. I needed that. I needed that moment to kind of get back on track with everybody. All right, so. This weekend, just like a wedding was for you and your family, Larry Walker's statue was amazing. Larry Walker was in town. It was kind of crazy, Troy, because I know you weren't there this weekend. But Saturday, it was another Rockies loss. Gabriel Hughes looks like he's starting to run out of gas, which is fine. That's part of what happens with guys with Tommy John. But after the game, I was very curious. I was like, is the statue up yet and they're just hiding it? And so it's right at the front of Coors Field, so 20th and Blake. And there's this old statue called the Player. And the Player was done by the Rotary Club early on when Coors Field was just opened up. And they used to do like a Rotary Club Player of the Year. And one of the last years that they had the award, I gave the award. I was the MC. And that award went to Anthony Rizzo. So he would get like the Player Award. And I was like, oh, cool. Like I never knew about it until like I connected the dots. I always knew that there was this, random player in front. So the Rockies finally get a statue and Larry Walker's statue. So I don't see it there Saturday night. And I asked the Rockies people, I was like, hey, when are you guys going to put this thing up? And they said, we're going to do it right around 4 or 5 in the morning. And I was like, are you serious? So they did it. And the story we got from Larry yesterday, Troy, which was amazing, was his dad was at the statue when it was getting ready to get put in at 4 a.m. So about an hour before they started, he stood there and watched the whole thing. And Larry Walker's dad has also put the final screw into the bust in Cooperstown. Like he's been really connected. Wow. His dad's 88 years old, still umpires baseball games. But it was amazing. And then Fergie Jenkins was there as 2 Canadian Hall of Famers, the only Canadian Hall of Famers in Cooperstown, and Helton was there, several of his teammates, which was really cool to see that. It was just a really special day, and what's the craziest part for me, Troy, is that the statue is of this 3-run walk-off homer he hit off John Rocker. But the kicker here, it's when the Rockies wore these ugly, turn forward the clock jerseys. And so that's the jersey on the statue. But when you go and look at it, because it was a 1 of 1, it's pretty awesome. I'm like, all right, like that's kind of cool.
The jersey looks better on the statue than it did in real life. I remember when they came out, I don't know, I don't want to say for sure Walker didn't love him, but the guys were like, what is this? Looks like the Jetsons uniform from the cartoon. The sleeves are kind of goofy. I mean, he could wear anything. Like some guys can fill out a uniform, if you will, but some guys can't wear sleeveless and then the way. But yeah, that uniform, I don't even know how many times they totally wore it. If it was a handful, I mean, it wasn't very many.
No, it was
So the
once.
fact that
It was
oh, it
just
was a
that
one off.
game. It was
I
just
covered
that
that
one
game. I
game.
just couldn't remember. I couldn't remember if it was a one off or not, if it was a weekend, because they started doing those player weekend stuff. But yeah, what a cool thing for Walker. I texted with him about the height, the size of the statue, and he was like, "Yeah, kind of large, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah." I have talked to Larry in the last few years about different stories I've done, including on Otani, and how much he reminded me of Otani. You know, the big guy can run, hit for power, hit for average, and the size. When I first came across Otani a couple of years ago at the All Star game, I was like, man, the only time I've ever remember being like this big. And Otani's he's kind of taller, but is Larry Walker. I mean, a guy that's so big that can do all these things. I don't know that we'll see another Larry Walker. Cargo was the closest you and I've talked about. But you just don't see baseball players that size, that athletic, and then not only hit for power but hit for average. And good for Larry. And the one thing I liked about the ceremony is when people are like, because Larry, I mean, I want to keep it real. Larry can be a pain in the ass for the media because he was hurt a lot. Waiting for him to talk could be very difficult. Like, hey, Larry, you talking today? And when you know it is, when you're injured, you get grumpy. Like, what do you want to hear? Like, what? And I get it, but our job is to find out updates. But everyone's like, why do you wait for Walker to talk? And I'm like, did you hear his speech? Did you hear? Every time he talks, it's just fascinating, interesting, raw, candid. It's not political in a way that, oh, I got to make sure everybody. No, he just kind of speaks from the heart. And it means he says some stuff that's hilarious, some stuff that offends people, and even when he was talking about celebration, like now everyone's doing the Macarena down that's Larry. That's how Larry reacts. So I was glad in his speech you saw kind of like that's kind of the real Larry Walker. He's emotional. He loves his family. He gets nervous like the rest of us, and he has real opinions on stuff. And so many athletes now, especially star athletes, are so afraid to say anything. Larry is a throwback in that way.
Yeah, you're right. Like, it was amazing, having worked out with them. Like, my interactions was just in an off season, and it was funny that you threw the story of the bat into the paper this weekend. So thank you. And Larry brought up his own story. He was like, "Hey, I read that, and I saw our Mile High Territory conversation about the bat, and he says it came across my feed, and he said I had a bat like you, Spilly. He had a bat from Don Baylor." And if you've heard about Larry Walker talking about the impact of Don Baylor, the late Don Baylor, who we miss like dearly, this guy was amazing. Don Baylor was like the most genuinely like perfect human. He was warm, he was kind, but he had an edge to him that like you didn't want to be on the other side. And he was so important to so many people as far as giving them confidence. And Larry talks about Don, where he says like, hey, there was a point about 2 years into my career where I like mentally got into this mode where I knew. And that was something that Don said was like, at some point you have to feel like you belong. And there's a moment, right. There's an aha moment for every big leaguer. It could be day one. It could be a year and a half into it. It's when the player goes, wait, I belong here. Like I'm not just here to be here. I belong here. And that's what Don Baylor used to talk about. And so Larry passed that over to me when I was working out with him. It's like, hey, there's gonna be a point, hopefully in your career, where you have your aha moment. And once you feel like you belong, you do everything to make sure you maintain that. So I love that. And so Larry had this Don Baylor bat that he got about 100 hits with. That said,
really
same thing. It was like, yeah, just like my Larry Walker bat that got over 100 hits. Larry swung a Don Baylor bat that got over 100 hits. And the last little thing on this statue, what again was pretty cool, was Larry refused to see any updates. He didn't want to see any pictures. He didn't want to see anything. He did have to go about 10 months ago and hold the pose, he said, with like a plastic bat. So they tried to get his arm and all that stuff. So right. Posterity.
I can't hold this any longer.
No, he said he was exhausted, but he did not look at it. He never saw it until he was there on the dais, right? And then with all his friends and family, and then they So when they unveiled it for the first time, where everybody saw it for the first time, that was also Larry Walker's first time of seeing that.
One of the things that I wasn't very good at was playing Major League Baseball. One of the things that I'm really good at is sweating. Even now, when I'm not playing, I need hydration. I need to make sure it's convenient. That's why I choose Quince.
Yep, Quince electrolyte stick packs to the rescue, Kratz. They taste great, and the zero sugar options are stevia-free. They're keto-approved, naturally sweetened with fermented rice, and like everything Quince does, they're thoughtfully made and priced well at $20 for 30 servings. They're less than half of the leading brand. Give your body what it really needs to stay hydrated. Go to quince.com/foul for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/FOUL for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/foul. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Did it look pretty good? I mean, I didn't see it in person. It looked like
It's
really well done. Because some of those are not good. I mean, I'll be honest. Some of those busts are not good. And you're like, man, what photo were you working off? But it looked really cool to me.
This one's great. So when you do go see it, because I know a bunch of people are taking photos of it, when you go to Coors Fields, I mean, it's got like the old school Nike Cooperstown kicks that look like they're just size 50. His pants look perfect. There's details in the jersey, the batting gloves, the hair. I mean, it's also, he's way the hell up there. So it's like hard, but he's got the goatee, which he had at the time. Like, there's a lot of details of Larry. He wasn't like the bald headed, clean cut version that we're sometimes accustomed to seeing. It was like mullet, Fu Manchu-ish thing, throw forward the jersey, like push forward the clock, and then the number. I mean, like, it's really well done. Really well done.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. I'm happy. I mean, they should have had statues probably sooner, but the fact that it's he and Todd, they're Hall of Famers. I mean, it speaks to a franchise that's finally maturing enough to have this type of history. When you get 3.5 decades, close to 4 decades in, it's time to honor your past. And Larry Walker is the greatest player. I mean, the greatest Rocky to me will be Helton because of the overall stats. The greatest Rocky player, most talented player is Larry Walker. I mean, again, I don't know. I just can't imagine I'll ever cover a baseball player like that again in my lifetime. I mean, it doesn't mean it won't happen. It's hard to explain to young kids that, like, well, what was Walker like? And I'm like, well, if you combine Tulo and you combine Cargo and you combine and Helton, like, you take like 3 players and put them into one. That's kind of how he was. I mean, it was just amazing. I wish they had one more. He'd had like a postseason run. He got that with the Cardinals toward the end of his career, but he was a special, special player. And to see him honored in this way is real. And to see him, his relationship prepared with the organization. And that's happened over the last several years, but it didn't end great. When he got traded, and then it got patched up, and he's been back to fantasy camp, and he's a part of the Rockies. And, it just, what's interesting to me, Philly, I was so young when I was covering Walker. I was like my son's age who got married now. I was like 28. I mean, and now I'm 56. And so when I was covering him, I mean, I wasn't that far removed from playing, so there was really a different appreciation. But also, I didn't appreciate the insecurities he had. He was so good. Like, you're covering someone who was like the greatest player. And since I've talked to him, in the last few years, he's like, he was so nervous for his Hall of Fame speech, and he had to retreat to his cabin and get away from everyone, and just like had the anxiety for it. And you can't imagine the anxiety I felt about playing games. And I was just like, I would have never guessed that. I mean, I watched him come off a rehab assignment, Spilly, one year, come off the DL. It was DL back then. He was on the DL for like 60 days, like 63 days, comes off and hits his first pitch he sees, hits a home run. I mean, that was Larry Walker. I saw him hit 3 home runs in Cleveland. It was one of the most impressive games I've ever seen in my life. So when he talks about like insecurity and I was like, really? Damn. I mean, because I've just never seen a player like that was so talented.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, the true 5-tool players we even were showing, I remember when people were asking Larry Walker, about Cooperstown. And this is, I mean, it took him to the final year, 10 years. 10
Yep.
years for people to recognize Larry Walker's talent. And we're talking sports writer. It's like, I remember, I mean, basically once I started doing radio on Sirius XM, and, you know, we get into every January before the announcement was made, and I'd always say, I was like, listen, you guys, like, the sports writers are really jacking this thing up because Larry Walker has a higher OPS on the road than like Tony Gwynn, Reggie Jackson, like Mike Schmidt, Ryan Sandberg. I was like, so stop. Like, and I believe Larry's road OPS was even higher than some Hall of Famers OPSs in some of these larger markets. So I'm like, just stop pretending like this guy's a Coors Field creation. This guy's like an amazing player. And Larry nailed it during kind of like towards the very end because it like he wasn't tracking upward the way he should have been. And he says, Coors Field is my PED. Coors Field is the reason why I might not get into the Hall of Fame. And if that's the case for great players, that sports writers can't recognize that these are great players that are playing at altitude, then move on from Colorado. Get rid of Colorado for Major League Baseball. Because you're destroying careers. You're saying like it doesn't count. And obviously people heard that and they're like, well, crap, we don't know. We love baseball in Colorado. But that was the point, was if you can't credit the player for the talent that they have, and the reason why you're doing it is because they're playing at altitude, then get rid of the field. That's the PED.
Right. You can't hold that. Right. And it's funny about it is Larry was never a stats guy. He didn't chase stats. He really didn't. And the reason he got in was because of sabermetrics and stats. Like people understood. Now I want to be completely transparent. The years on his ballot, I think it was 10, right? I didn't vote for him like 2 years because my ballot was crowded with other guys who were a little in front of him. People ask me all the time, how can you not vote for him every year? I'm like, well, there's a year where there's like 7 guys become eligible. They move ahead of him, you know, because it was always a debatable case. There's some guys that aren't debatable. Anyway, he was upset like the first year I didn't vote for him. He was legitimately upset. And I understood that. I was like, you've got to vote for me. You're in my, and I'm like, I understand that, but I don't like to play that game. And I had to tell Jason Dion, be like, gee, I love you. I don't vote for guys who got, entangled with the PED stuff. My choice. I don't expect people to understand or agree with it, but that's where I draw the line. But Larry benefited from, as baseball matured statistically, because when he retired, it was just becoming the Moneyball stuff. And the longer he was away, the greater he was appreciated for the type of player he was. But I used to tell people that all the time. I'm like, Larry Walker would hit anywhere. Todd Helton would hit anywhere. Like the best players on the Rockies would hit anywhere. Do they have Coors Field creations? Absolutely. But not their stars, not the upper crust.
No. The best players are the best players wherever they go. I mean, like,
correct.
Holiday was still a great player when he left. Tulo was still a great player when he left. And DJ LeMahieu got MVP votes the first year he left. I mean, like that's all-time second baseman for the Colorado Rockies is DJ LeMahieu. All time. I mean, we can debate other guys, but I don't think it's really up for debate. All right. Again, no debate here when it comes to the Rockies at Coors Field. It's been bad. So this last homestand, six straight games, 6 straight losses. They get swept by the Dodgers. Some tight games. The pitching's falling apart right now from the starting pitching standpoint. I mean, we saw Sugano on Sunday against the Guardians. Guardians are kind of, again, every time we see these contact type of offenses that are like stay in the strike zone, don't chase, even going back to the Dodgers, these are the offenses that come in and blow out the Rockies. I mean, time and time again. We say it. You've heard me say it.
Milwaukee, Cleveland, Dodgers, Marlins,
Toronto. Like they come in there and kill you. Which is, again, like great examples of where the Rockies offensively need to get to. And the other part is finding some swing and miss. So Sunday's game, Troy, we saw 94 foul balls total in the game, which is that could be like a record for the season. But Sugano had a really tough time getting out of the first inning. And then it was just because there wasn't a lot of swing and miss. He's one of the lower swing and miss pitchers in baseball. And so it was just a disaster. And if you count this homestand and the previous homestand, because the Rockies got swept by Tampa Bay before that. So it's Tampa Bay, contact, Dodgers, contact, and no chase. Guardians, super contact, no power, but no chase. That's 9 straight losses, and that's the first time. That's the longest home losing streak in club history, with 9 straight losses at Mile High Stadium. So this is the most in Rockies franchise history, with a team that felt like we're moving forward from a bunch of things from a season ago. So that's not been good at all.
Yeah, they run into a buzzsaw, as you said. Like sometimes it's fighters make fights and there's mismatches. And at the same time, the pitching is taking on water. You run into these teams that are grinding like it's game 7 of the World Series. And it's a mismatch. And so when you can't win with Sagano-san, I mean, what their record when he pitched was like, 8 over, 9 over. So when he starts not winning, that's a problem. Freeland being hurt, these are problems. Hughes looks like like you said, he's on fumes right now. Now they're 50 and 80, and that number, they got to win 13. I think they have to go left. So they got to go 13 and 19 to go. Now it's getting dicey because that's a winning percentage they really haven't been at. Because before they were right at that like 37% number the whole way, but you throw in a 6-game losing streak, and all of a sudden the math starts to work against you. This is the issue they have to figure out. If when they're going to get competitive again, I believe they will, they have to dominate at home. Like playoff Rocky teams have to win like 50 games at home. And when you can't dominate at your own park, you have issues, because the road's going to be the road. Like you got to be somewhere within probably 5 games of 500, maybe a game over. But for the Rockies, at least for me, for their template, unless something changes dramatically over the next decade or so, you got to win somewhere around 50 games at home, right, Philly? And to do that, you got to take advantage of your park. And that's what's showing is I think you need Condon. I hope they bring him up. I don't know where that still stands. Ritter came up. They optioned Freeman down because they're moving through and cycling through guys. So they want to see the young core over the last month. They want to see that core together. But they just got to get a little bit more dynamic offense. And it hasn't helped. And you've pointed this out on this pod. Karros is a guy who kind of a glue guy in their lineup because he walks, he takes pitches, he grinds at bats. Him missing essentially like 2 weeks now, that hasn't helped.
Bella, where? I don't know where Bella is, but I know how to take care of my pup.
Kratz, while you find Bella, today's episode is sponsored by the ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program. The ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program offers customizable accident and illness plans that can fit your budget, your lifestyle, and even your pet's particular quirks. Because let's be honest, vet bills can add up fast. And when it's time to submit a claim, it's easy. Just use their app and receive reimbursement for eligible vet bills directly into your bank account so you can get back to focusing on what really matters, your pet. To explore coverage, visit aspcapetinsurance.com/FOUL. That's aspcapetinsurance.com/FOUL. This is a paid advertisement. Insurance is underwritten by either Independence American Insurance Company or United States Fire Insurance Company and produced by PTZ Insurance Agency Limited. The ASPCA is not an insurer and is not engaged in the business of insurance.
Now, that's a great segue to the part on Kyle Karros. So Karros had that nasty collision in Arizona with Ezequiel Tovar. They were basically in a shift position, so ball on the basically shortstop side, and that's where Karros runs into Tovar. The concussion symptoms, they thought he was okay, so they cleared him from concussion protocol. He stayed in Arizona after it, so he was basically in Arizona from the injury. That's where the complex is. Missed the series against the Giants on the road, and then missed the first couple games against the Dodgers, and then he came back on Friday against the Guardians. And when he came back, like he said, he was feeling okay, but not really tested. He said like sometimes he's kind of losing his train of thought, which is kind of a red flag. But he was like, yeah, I feel like I felt okay. And then on Saturday, there was kind of a play where Karros had to go and back up, and he dove on an errant throw. And when he dove and landed, you could see him when he was coming up, he was seeing stars. So
Oh, geez.
I asked him about that yesterday, so he ended up going to Arizona to get some more, additional testing. But he was like, yeah, after that, like, started getting a headache in the back of his head, and he was like, yeah, I just did not feel good. So that's what ended up happening. So not only do you not have Hunter Goodman, who's been down, and we saw him, he's currently in Washington getting treatment. So Rockies are in DC this week. But no Karros and no Goodman has changed the lineup like drastically.
Yeah, immediately. Is Goodman coming back here in this series, right? When's he eligible to come back?
I don't know.
It's a 7. Was it 7? Or what was the IL on him?
It goes back to before it was in Arizona. He struck out on a pitch.
Last two.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dates back because he went on the DL or IL, whatever the hell they call it now, last Tuesday. When they officially put him on, but you can backdate it 3 days because he didn't play at least the off day and those other 2 days, I think.
Yeah, I think they.
So hopefully they need him back.
Oh,
They need
yeah.
him back.
Yeah. So
I don't know. Karros, we might not see again when you start getting that second round of symptoms. I mean, as someone who covers the NFL regularly, yeah, that's a concern. And I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying that's where you really have to hit the brakes and figure out, because once you get one and then you get like a second one, that's when you got to be really careful. Really careful. Obviously, football is different than baseball, but yeah, anytime you get hit too around that behind the ear temp, that is just, man, it's dangerous stuff. And he didn't look right that night when he walked off in Arizona. He had that boxer vacant look in his eyes, and unfortunately, in football, I see that a lot. I mean, that's just the nature of football. But I'm not sure we see him again because he's going to have to probably be out a week and then get red. Maybe we see in the last week of the season, 10 days. So hopefully Kyle get well and feel better. They need Goodman. They need Goodman to hit. I mean, and I don't know when that, and now can he get to 40, Spilly? I mean, that's going to be a chase now. I don't think 45 is no chance unless he goes on an all-time heater now.
No, I mean, it's a bunch of like stats that we didn't want to come into play are coming into play.
Yeah,
and then the stats that we did. The stats that we did want to come into play are fading away. So it's like it's on this teeter-totter right now that is going in opposite directions. So you and I are back at it later on in the week, and travel safe. And I'll make sure I'll do a post in a couple days as the Rockies take on the Washington Nationals for four in the nation's capital. All right, Troy, have a good one.
You better stay cool. It's going to be humid and hot. One of my favorite time there was RFK Stadium. I was sick as a dog, and you guys played there. It was like 102 degrees, and old RFK was like a greenhouse effect. I thought I was like, this is how it ends. It's just how my life ends. Covering a game at RFK Stadium. Rockies v Nationals.
Yeah, that place was interesting. All right, Troy, we'll be good.
Yeah.